Hey guys, this is Jason. I'm reviewing Mission Impossible 3, directed by JJ Abrams. It is the third film in the franchise and is the one that did understand what this franchise was supposed to be. In this film, Ethan Hunt is now living a normal life with his new fiancée, Julia, played by Michelle Monaghan, and he's trying to have a normal life with her and not focus a lot on the IMF stuff, which unfortunately keeps coming back to Ethan, and some agents are trying to get him back in the field, but they give him a mission that he unfortunately can't ignore because he finds out about a new terrorist named Owen Devian, played by Phillip Seymour Hoffman, that's doing terrible things to some IMF agents. And he is after this object called the Rabbit's Foot with something inside it, and both Ethan and Luther have to bring a new team together to go and find Devian and bring him to justice. This film decides to go back to what made the first film work, like having some of the gadgets back, the character dynamics with the team, and having some of the mission be some of the more important parts, because some of that stuff was heavily lacking in the second film. And it has a little something that the first two films didn't have: emotion. When we see Ethan trying to have a life with Julia, and you start to see their relationship is a special thing for him, and it's the kind of thing that makes Ethan happy. You definitely buy into their relationship, and both Tom Cruise and Michelle Monaghan do have really good chemistry together. It doesn't feel melodramatic, it doesn't feel silly, it feels like a believable couple. And to be honest, I think both Ethan and Julia make a better couple in the Mission Impossible series than Ethan and Naya do. But unfortunately, Ethan having a relationship isn't really something that he's supposed to have, because other agents of IMF aren't supposed to have any relationships because they can lead to some trouble, and some of their loved ones that get involved can get themselves killed. Like, you have scenes when Luther is talking to Ethan about this not being a good idea for him to be with someone because that kind of thing could get both of them killed, meaning that maybe Ethan getting engaged with Julia might not have been the best idea for him. But he doesn't care because he's in love with Julia and he just wants to be with her, but he also wants to protect her, so he tries to take this mission to do so. And what makes this film better than the second film is that it is very fast paced. It has a lot of action and tension moments that don't really take any time to just slow things down. It just cuts to the chase with a lot of the stuff happening where they have to find Devian, and giving us big missions that are supposed to build up some of the suspense and tension. Like, there'll be some characters that would rescue some agents with chips inside that would kill them, or jumping off of buildings to get to another one, or scenes on a bridge where there are a bunch of explosions and gunfire happening. And what also makes this film great is the same thing that was great about the first film: having exposition moments that are supposed to build up some of the tension for the missions they're about to take. Where it's one of those films where when they give exposition, you have to pay attention to every part of the dialogue that they're saying. Every single one. And you would also get some new characters like Laurence Fishburne, Billy Crudup, Maggie Q, and Simon Pegg as Benji, who would later become one of the main characters in the rest of the films. Also, fun fact, Aaron Paul makes a cameo before he was in Breaking Bad. Yep, if you love Breaking Bad, then you might be surprised to see Aaron Paul in a Mission Impossible film. And Tom Cruise is still likable as Ethan Hunt, and he still does a lot of fantastic stunts in the film, like climbing on top of walls to get to a building, jumping off one building to another, going through a whole bridge of gunfire and missiles trying to catch Phillip Seymour Hoffman, and having a scene that takes place in Shanghai where Tom Cruise is just running through a bunch of people, and there's one part in that chase that's just done in one long take. Now, this film is directed by JJ Abrams, and he did do a good job with this film, and this is the first film that he has directed, because before this, he was mostly known for directing episodes of TV shows like Felicity, Alias, and Lost, and would later direct other films like Star Trek and Super 8, and he does a good job here making some of the action feel like they're cohesive and having some of the emotional moments feel effective. Now, with the Mission Impossible films, in particular the first three films, had an issue with their villains. Like, the first film had had Jon Voight. He was great in the film, but his character was underdeveloped, and Dougray Scott in the second film just wasn't that great. But Phillip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3 for me is one of the best Mission Impossible villains we have gotten. He makes the character feel threatening and terrifying every time he comes on screen. That stunt I did with your friend back there, that was fun. I was gonna kill you in front of her. Now I'm gonna kill her in front of you. And this is one of Phillip Seymour Hoffman's best performances. Rest in peace. You were fantastic in this film. Now I do really like this film. I do think it's a lot of fun. It's very fast paced, and it's certainly better than the second film. But it does still have some issues. Like, even though I can appreciate it for having fast pacing, it unfortunately is also an issue because it really doesn't give a lot of character development to any of the characters except for Ethan. Because you have some characters like Ethan talking to Billy Crudup and saying that there might have been a friendship with them, but that's very underdeveloped. Now, as for some of the new characters like Maggie Q and John Rhys Meyers being the new members of Ethan's team, they don't really have much for the emotion or character development for this film. They only have like one scene together where Maggie Q tells John Rhys Meyers about the story that she had with her cat, but it's unfortunately cut short. That's really like one of my only issues with this film. There really isn't a lot of character development, or at least like a few moments for the characters to just slow down for the audience to understand more of what's going on, which unfortunately for me, the other films that we've had after this film and with the first film kind of did a better job using character development than this film, where some of the other films had some fleshed out and well-developed characters, but this film doesn't really have much of that, sadly. But it still doesn't change that Mission Impossible 3 is still a fun movie with great action sequences, great stunts from Tom Cruise. He gives a likable performance to the lead. It has a great villain, it has great suspense, tension, and great emotion for Ethan and Julia. I definitely recommend watching Mission Impossible 3 if you haven't yet. It's definitely a fun watch, and for a long time it was considered the final Mission Impossible film for some people, until they made another film 6 years later with Ghost Protocol, which we'll be talking about that one soon. I'm gonna give Mission Impossible 3 a B+. I know it's the same grade I gave the first film, I just kind of enjoyed it just a teensy tad more than that film. So guys, if you have seen Mission Impossible 3, what did you think about it? Do you think it's the best Mission Impossible film, or do you think it's as bad as 2? Let me know in the comments below, and stay tuned because I am going to be reviewing Ghost Protocol very soon. I am very excited to talk about it, and for a long time, it was my favorite Mission Impossible film, so look forward to that review coming soon. And as always, if you like this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing, because it helps my channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you know what other videos I'm posting. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.